How is everyone doing today? And in this video, we are going to be talking about one of our very first and one of our best DPS at the current moment, which is going to be Jiyan. Now, I know Jiyan is a character that a lot of people are looking into because it is our first 5-star, so a lot of people probably summoned on him. And today, we're going to be looking at all the tips and tricks, all the things that you need to know about Jiyan when you're playing with him and how to play him properly. Because, of course, there's a lot of things in the tutorial that they show you that aren't the very best things in the world, and they don't show you how to use it in which situation. So we're going to be going ahead and talking about all that different type of stuff in this video with everything that you possibly need to know about Jiyan. But before we get into all that, make sure you leave a like, comment, sub, all that different type of stuff, and let me know what teams are you running, or maybe who did you pick on the selector, because as you may know, I 100% picked Jiyan on my actual selector, and then for my other one I picked Verena. I don't think I could have got anything better than that, but let me know about yours. But let's go ahead and start talking about Jiyan, and starting with his kit. That is the most important thing, because of course you need to know what he does before we talk about how to use it. So for the most part, he's actually a very simple character, with his basic attack being a regular string that has different variations that we're going to be talking about later. His resonance skill is a thrust forward when it comes to hitting the enemy, has multiple hitting portions, so it does a good bit of damage. His resonance liberation allows him to transform and use the dragon that comes from his spear and making it so that you can juggle enemies. Has a lot of different hitting portions, so it makes it really good for boss DPS. And into the intro skill, you will be throwing a spear to the ground and then plunging after, because you will be airborne. And then lastly, the forte circuit. This is what you're going to be playing around for the most part. The forte circuit is going to be very important in boosting the damage for some of your skills, which is going to be your resonance skill. It will use half of your bar to be able to use that portion and give it some extra damage. And not only that, your resonance liberation, that is a very important thing you want to make sure that you have, because the forte circuit plays into the ult, which allows you to have the extra activation or the extra animation of you actually plunging the dragon into the ground before you start up your ult, which actually gives you a lot more damage in the long run. So if you want to make sure that you're hitting for more damage or getting that extra bump of damage that might save you some time in that tower of adversity, or just to nuke down your boss that you're fighting, make sure you have some forte circuit to use. And then guess what? Boom, the resonance liberation damage is going to allow you to absolutely go insane on the amount of damage you're going to be doing at first, and then for the rest of the transformation that you have with the green dragon. So you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the forte circuit, making it so that when you do have a certain amount of the resolve, which is the forte circuit, you're going to be giving your skill a lot more damage in its whole, because it will boost the damage. And then not only that, when you have 30 or more resolve, then you are going to be able to do that extra attack with the ultimate, which brings out a good amount of damage. Of course, we're going to be looking at other things that we do need to talk about when it comes to Jiyan, and that is by far some of his combos that are going to make it pretty easy to parry bosses, and I mean really easy. Now, the thing that they want to tell you is to spam light attack, and that's what the consensus is for the most part that a lot of people talk about, which is most of the characters are just left click spammers, which could be far from the case, especially with Jiyan, because if you use certain combos, like if you hold your heavy attack, let it go, and then do your light, you actually do a crap ton amount of hits, which makes it super hard for the boss to be able to open up a parry window and not get parried. So if you hold your heavy attack, let it go, do 2 light attacks, you will actually have not only the thrust with the multiple hits, but you also will get the spin around spear, which will have a fat ton of different opportunities for those hits to land a parry, which makes it hard for a boss to open up a window and possibly even hit you, because that parry window will be shattered by the time that gets close enough to you. He also has his light string that you can cancel into his heavy as well, which allows you to dodge some attacks. But the only problem with this is sometimes you may miss it. So there are some options that you can do so that you don't have to miss hits, or you can get the most amount of damage in while you're in mid-air. Because like I said, there are possibilities that you may miss the attack because the tracking can go wonky. So what you can do is do the light combo into the heavy cancel, go into the air, use your skill, and then plunge back down onto them after Jiyan throws them back to the ground. Sometimes the overall enemies will die to this regardless, and sometimes you may even have to delay the skill so that you're closer to the ground, so that you make sure that the thrust back down or the smash back down with the pole actually hit the enemy on the ground, giving you these 2 last enormous hits that are at the end of his heavy hit when he's in the air, which allows you to do a lot more damage. There's a bunch of different things that you can do in this game, and there's even a variation of this unparryable or parryable combo that allows you to be able to spam the heavy attack if you hold the heavy attack, let it go, hold the heavy attack, let it go. But the only problem with this is you will be losing a lot of stamina, and the combo I gave you beforehand actually lets you keep your stamina so that you don't have to worry about not having the stamina to dodge or not having the stamina to do another heavy attack, which can prove very, very, I guess you could say, scary when you're dealing with bosses that can one-shot you and you don't have your dodge available, which we know that a lot of these bosses don't have a move that allows you to parry that. So that you really want to make sure that you have that stamina in check, that you're not going to get messed up for the most part. And one of the main things we do need to talk about, of course, when it comes to Jiyan, is his absolutely nasty outro skill, which when an ally uses their heavy attack actually summons these spears to fall from the sky and hit the enemies. Now, if you didn't know, you can't level up your outro skill when you are in your talents. These are actually unlevelable, I guess you could say, and they don't scale to a regular character. I guess these are more skilled towards the end game, because holy crap, the amount of chunks of health that you can throw away off a boss or off an enemy when you switch off of Jiyan from his outro skill is absolutely insane. You're nuking these enemies down, and specifically with other characters like Jiyan or Kaokoro, who could do multiple heavy attacks in one go. This is giving you like 14,000 to 20,000 type of damage onto the enemy, which is something that they do not have, or they are going to lose a good majority of their health with taking this much hits from the early game at the current moment. And I'm right now level 36, which I'm getting very close to 40, and these are still nuking the enemies down like crazy. So make sure when you use the outro skill with Jiyan, make sure you're using your heavy attacks, because these will hit super freaking hard, especially if you have Jiyan with a well-built build and giving him the right echoes that will boost his damage, which we're going to be talking about in a quick second as well. Looking at his synergies that he has, he does have quite a bit of characters that allow him to kind of abuse what he has and also buff him up for the most part. Mortify is by far one of them that is going to help out a great bit, because not only is his outro skill going to buff heavy attacks, which his ultimate is based off of, when he uses his ultimate, his heavy attacks are now considered all the damage that he does, and this is going to help buff it up by an insane amount. And not only that, when Mortify is on the team and he uses his ultimate, every single time someone does a heavy attack, you get 2 of these little arrows that come from the back of the character and go ahead and hit the enemy. So if you are in Jiyan's ult, or if you're just spamming heavy attacks, this is going to not only buff you up as well from using Mortify, but you're also getting standby damage as well, or off field damage, which is going to help you burst down the enemy, which is a really, really cool thing. Another cool thing is that when you use someone like Kaokoro and you're having their heavy attack, when Kaokoro has his full forte circuit, he can heavy attack twice, which makes it that you proc the Jiyan outro skill at the same time very quickly, and it nukes down an enemy like there's no tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there's more synergies with people being able to do heavy attacks very quickly, like having Jiyan on the team as well, but I haven't been able to, I guess you could say, use Jiyan with all these different characters, because as you may know, the resources can be a little thin at the current moment when trying to build out characters and get them leveled up as well. Going into the build that we have at the current moment with Jiyan, we are rocking 4-3-3-1-1, which is usually the build that you kind of want to go for. Fills up your cost to the max and also allows you to get the most amount of damage bonus as much as possible. With the Falayan Baringal, this is the boss, the monkey that's at the bottom of the map, and with his echo skill, you're actually going to be buffing out arrow damage and also buffing up heavy attack damage, which we know that Jiyan is basically centered around. So you want to use this echo before Jiyan even gets to do his damage, because you will be buffing it out by a good bit. And this monkey does a crap ton of damage. You are looking for crit rate, because not only is his signature crit damage, but crit rate seems to be the name of the game for these echoes, because you already have the 150% spawned in for every single character, which is kind of crazy in my honest opinion. The next thing you want to go for are any of the cost 3s that are in the arrow set, which will allow you to get arrow damage bonus. So you want to go for the REHOO Chief, you want to go for the Car Razor. I think there is one extra one, which is the Scion Feathered Heron, if I'm not wrong, which is the green bird. Those also have arrow damage bonus, so any combination of those two with the arrow damage bonus is going to be the absolute best. When it comes to the substats, you really want to look for, of course, to the crit rate and crit damage. More crit rate, because that is what you want to be able to crit. And then the heavy attack damage bonus, attack percentage, anything you can get, those are really good for Jiyan. Skill damage bonus is really nice as well, because his skill does hurt quite a bit, and especially if you fuse that in with your forte circuit, that does a crazy amount of damage, which you don't want to miss out on. And then for the swords, of course, or the weapons, Verdant Summit, of course, his signature will be one of the best. there are the other ones like the Helios Cleaver, which is going to give you, after your resonance skill is used, increases your attack by a certain amount. And this is really nice when you're able to use this and get that attack boost. There are other swords, but currently for me, I'm using Verdant Summit, so I haven't been able to test out a lot of different options for Jiyan. But Jiyan, in whole, even without his signature for the most part, which helps him a lot with his damage, he's still able to nuke, he's still able to do a crap ton amount of damage, and the amount of hits that you do with them allows you to do so many crazy things with those parries that you're able to shred those shields off of those enemies. And last thing I do want to show is the switch techs that you can do, which one of them is really easy for the most part. You're going to do your heavy string and then go into the air. Once you're in the air, you switch back to another character, do some skills, do some normals. Jiyan will still be in the air. You switch back to him, you do your plunge, and then you do the little flick with the kick. That's going to do a crazy amount of damage because of the scalings that are on it. And then the last one is that once you do the slash at the end of your light combo, you actually can switch out and let Jiyan do the rest of it, and then you can let the other character play, come back to Jiyan, and just carry on as usual. So there are some spots that you can switch cancel with Jiyan. I think the most useful one is going to be the one where you're in the air, switch off, switch back in, and he plunges, because that is a lot of damage and it isn't as hard to execute, while the light attack combo string where you're switching out can end up in an instance where you switch out a little too early or a little bit too late, and now you're wasting all the time you would have gotten from Jiyan doing his full animation. So you want to make sure you're doing it at this portion of the string that I'm showing on the screen, and then you'll be able to have Jiyan doing that long combo that allows your other ally to be able to work on the enemy, use a skill, use an ultimate, all that different type of stuff, and then switch back to Jiyan before he's even finished with that animation, so that you're continuing to do damage while switching off, adding resources, and then going right back to Jiyan. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff that you can do with Jiyan, a lot of really cool teams. He is a very strong DPS that we have at the current moment. But other than that, that's going to be it for the rest of this video. Hopefully you got to learn a little bit more about Jiyan and maybe changed up the combos that you're doing. No more light string attacks, and you're now weaving in heavies and being able to work in mid-air with a lot of the damage that you can do for free without getting hit. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with Jiyan, and I'm very excited to keep on playing with them and learn more as soon as it comes out. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. See y'all guys in the next one, and peace.